Hello everyone, Insta here, welcome back to my DCEU 2.0 series. I hope you've already enjoyed the first two videos. If you haven't or haven't seen them, I really suggest that you do, because we're quite far in actually at this point, because this video will be about Phase 3. We've already had Phase 1, named The Dawn of Justice. Last time we talked about Phase 2, which I called Post-Superman, and Phase 2 was a fairly big phase actually, consisted out of 10 movies, and was mainly about the build-up of both the Suicide Squad and the actual Justice League. The largest build-up of the Justice League was mainly Phase 1, because that phase was actually called Dawn of Justice. We had all our intros to nearly all of the Justice League members. Of course, Superman died at the end. Phase 2, Post-Superman, like the majority of the movies in that phase were about the members of the Suicide Squad. We had a film about Deadshot, a film about Joker and Harley. We had a Batman the Killing Joke film. Katana got a movie, Killer Croc got a movie, Colonel Flag got a movie. All of them in lead up to the actual Suicide Squad film. Then the final two movies of Phase 2 were actually about the Justice League, ending with the 10th movie, the Justice League itself, which followed the same story as the Justice League film that we got, you know, with Steppenwolf coming down to Earth, wanting to use a mother box to terraform the Earth, but then Wonder Woman, Batman, The Flash, Cyborg and Aquaman both team up for the very first time in an attempt to stop him. Very important note, as I also addressed in the previous video, is that my version of the Justice League film does not include the resurrection of Superman. No, Superman stays dead. He's still dead. He's just, you know, finito. Because I wanted to make a statement that the Justice League is more than just Superman and his minions, to call it like this, because the Whedon version of Justice League made every Justice League member look pretty weak. Especially during the end fight, every Justice League member gets his ass kicked until Superman eventually shows up and manages to beat Steppenwolf like within a minute, with no effort whatsoever. So this Justice League version, they managed to defeat Steppenwolf, they managed to kill him without Superman kind of making a statement that they are actually worth a damn thing, that they are actually capable of doing shit, you know. Nevertheless, that's where Phase 2 ends, and then we're going to head into Phase 3, which I've called Reign of Justice, because the Justice League is a thing, and Phase 3 really is about life with the Justice League. Now, what is life like with these guys being around, with them teaming up together, with them having an actual alliance? What is this all about? That's a huge part of Phase 3. Another big part of Phase 3 will be the build-up of Darkseid. Darkseid has only been mentioned once, and that was all the way at the end of the Justice League film. That's when we got our first teaser of Darkseid. In this phase, Darkseid will be heavily teased and built up, starting with our very first film of Phase 3, which I've called Apocalypse. This is a very different and unique film, but I think a very important film. I assume all of you have seen the theatrical version of the Justice League, the Whedon version, and for those who have seen it, I presume all of you, you probably remember that there is a very short scene in that film, where we have this flashback of an ancient war that occurred on Earth between the Atlanteans, Amazonians, the Green Lantern Corps and everything on one side, and then Steppenwolf and his parademons on the other side. Basically this huge war that happened long ago, in which of course the mother boxes have this key part to play. This film, Apocalypse, is completely about that war. Apocalypse, of course, being the homeworld of the deity also named as Uxas. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. I'm sorry if I don't. This film really is about the history of Uxas and his involvement of the very famous anti-life equation. For all of you who don't know what the anti-life equation is, it's basically like the big MacGuffin that this being called Uxas is searching for. Kind of like Thanos with the Infinity Stones, Uxas wants to know the anti-life equation because it basically is this mathematical formula that gives you the ability of, well, pretty much mind controlling everyone and everything. That you have the power to delve into someone's mind and make them do whatever you want them to do. That's the anti-life equation. This film is completely about all the Olympians, the Amazons, the Atlanteans, and the humans fighting this huge war, this huge ancient war thousands of years ago on the surface of the earth against Uxas and his army. This film also will give us an introduction to the Green Lantern Corps, because they have a key role to play in this war. They fought alongside the Olympians and the Amazons and everything, so they have an introduction. Not a very big screen presence, but let's say they have an introduction. Of course, the final outcome, in this film, Uxas is defeated and the anti-life equation is left on Earth. It's a huge defeat, victory for the Amazons, Atlanteans, humans, Green Lantern Corps, big victory for them. It ends with Uxas being forced to head back to Apocalypse, kind of like in shame, and then we have this big reveal that he changes his name to a much more familiar one, namely Darkseid. That he changed his name to Darkseid, and that's sort of like this big origin story of Darkseid. You know, why he's doing why he wants the anti-life equation, why he wants to wage this war, why he is who he is, what he dealt with. It's basically this huge backstory film that I really thought was very interesting and should have deserved its own movie instead of a very short 5-minute flashback. After Apocalypse, we head into our second movie of Phase 3, namely Deathstroke. I think a very popular character, a very cool character, if I may say so myself, and this is again an origin story. This is an origin story of the man who became Deathstroke. It's a crime-related story, really how he became the man who he was, his life of crime in Gotham City. Catwoman and Batman are once again involved. There can be like this cool 2v1 battle with Catwoman and Batman both fighting Deathstroke. Might be pretty sweet. It's like this big end fight that results in Deathstroke being defeated but not killed, because at the end of this film, Deathstroke actually joins Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is still on the run because he escaped in Phase 2 from prison or from the asylum. They both team up, and it ends with this huge teaser with Lex Luthor talking about Darkseid, and maybe they're gonna try to contact him because Lex Luthor was also the one who contacted Steppenwolf, so maybe he's trying to contact Darkseid as well. Who knows? It ends with this big teaser for Darkseid. Heading to our third movie, a very popular one, I think, Green Lantern. I mean, this was bound to happen. This was bound to happen, Green Lantern. Of course, origin story of Hal Jordan. It's pretty much, and don't get me wrong, but it's actually going to have the same story as the original Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, with the enemy being Parallax, Hal Jordan, being a fighter pilot, kinda reckless, being recruited into the Green Lantern Corps. Having all the same characters back, Sinestro, Kilowog, and everyone, all those characters the same. The story being exactly the same, because I think the story is simple and well enough. Of course, skip the whole Peter Sarsgaard plotline where he becomes this human turd. I don't know what that was. Just remove that entire storyline, remove that complete part of that movie. But then just origin story, Hal Jordan becoming Green Lantern, fighting Parallax, ending with him officially joining the Green Lantern Corps, and sort of filling the final holes of the Justice League, because of course Green Lantern is part of the Justice League, so he makes his grand entrance in this film. After that, we're gonna have our fourth movie, Aquaman, King of the Sea. This is another standalone film, takes place after Justice League, and this film will have the exact same storyline as the original Aquaman film that we got, you know, because that one also takes place after the events of Justice League, and it's sort of him finally stepping up, acknowledging that he should step up and become king, defeat Ocean Master, and it ends with him becoming the king of Atlantis. You know, exactly the same story. Also really developing his relationship with Mira. You know, maybe there can be this romantic love interest to kind of blossom their relationship a little bit more. But Aquaman, King of the Sea really follows that story of the actual Aquaman film that we got, because I actually really liked that film. It was one of the few DC films that I genuinely like, and I thought the story is well enough to use again. Leading up to our fifth film of Phase 3, Cyborg and the Flash. Kind of like this buddy film with the Cyborg and the Flash teaming up together, because I thought, why not? You know, I mean, these are two fun characters. I think they can kind of play off each other very well, and they're kind of doing their thing, you know, having now this reputation as actual crime fighters. Being members of the Justice League, kind of restoring the balance after so many years of disorder and crime, sort of teaming up together, because the enemy in this film is namely the very well-known Reverse Flash. Now, I can already hear a lot of you thinking, what on earth, why is the Reverse Flash even in this film? Why? Well, pretty much to serve as a teaser for a concept that will come into play much later, namely the concept of alternate timelines. Because I will be making use of that idea, but not as of yet. It will take a while before we get there, but I thought it would be nice to already tease it, to already kind of introduce the idea of alternate timelines. That a huge part of this movie, Cyborg and the Flash, is about Reverse Flash becoming Reverse Flash. Him being obsessed with Barry Allen, find a costume, inverting the colors, and kind of having his revenge on the actual Flash character by therefore heading back into another timeline, and so on and so on. That maybe Cyborg and the Flash first are extremely confused in the beginning, that they have something like, what on earth is going on, who are you, what is happening, what the hell, and that via extensive research they figure out, okay, this guy, Reverse Flash, isn't from this timeline, he's from another timeline in which familiar events happened completely differently. And it can be like this oh shit moment, you know, because we're actually delving into these alternate timelines, these alternate worlds, these alternate realities, and it can be like this whole, pretty much this mind fuck of a movie, sort of like Doctor Strange, that also introduces us to the whole concept of multiverse and different dimensions. It can be the same thing here with Cyborg and the Flash, introducing these alternate timelines. Leading up to our next film of Phase 3, another, I think, the final Origins film that we're gonna get, namely Shazam. Shazam, I think the original movie Shazam is a well enough film to use again. And just like with Aquaman, King of the Sea, I have decided to use the same story because I liked the actual Shazam movie that we got. I liked it well enough. I didn't think it was great. It didn't blow me away or anything, but I liked it well enough. I thought, you know what, this is a fun movie, just fun, good enough for what it is. It's fine. To actually use the same story, but make it a lot more serious, because let's face it, Shazam was a comedy. And ever since they decided to turn the DCEU into a Marvel universe, which it should have never been, I think it's pretty much all gone downhill, because Man of Steel and Batman v Superman were both very serious, pretty dark films, and for all the better, in my opinion. I thought it was a very fresh and interesting take on the superhero genre to actually have this serious and grim and dark universe in which these superheroes exist. But then after a while they were like, no, let's just copy and paste Marvel, and then we got films like Suicide Squad and Justice League and Shazam that were way too lighthearted, if you ask me. So just pick the original plot from the film Shazam, but just make it a lot more serious. And at the end, when it's all done and dusted, when the villain of Mark Strong is defeated, we have the teaser for the character Black Adam. Yes, Black Adam is also going to be a thing. He will be a bigger character later on, but not in this film yet. He will have a teaser at the end because Black Adam and Shazam are sort of the same characters, only with different backgrounds, but the concept about their characters is actually the same thing, so it makes sense to link Black Adam with Shazam. So at the end of the Shazam film, huge teaser for Black Adam. Leading us to the 7th film of Phase 3, namely The Suicide Squad 2. Yes, I thought, it was time. I'm not gonna delve too much into origin stories anymore because, after a while you can just keep on coming up with origins movies and origins movies and origins movies. But even the MCU, for all their great planning, didn't give everyone a separate origins film. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna step things up. Suicide Squad 2 introduces Black Adam as an actual character. He was teased at the end of Shazam, but in the Suicide Squad 2, Black Adam is an actual threat. He's a villain. He is an actual menace to be dealt with. The Suicide Squad completely is round, it's rallied up again. Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Killer Croc, El Diablo, Captain Boomerang, Colonel Flag, they're all rallied up again to fight Black Adam. And Shazam, the character of Shazam, makes a comeback. He actually, sort of a comeback. He makes a return appearance in this film. Because, of course, he also figures out that Black Adam is a thing and that he's coming. So he also returns in this film, which I thought was kind of nice. Really, again, showing that all these people indeed live in the same universe. Having Shazam, an actual magic sorcery superhero, teaming up with this gang of misfits. I thought it would be a nice change of pace. It could lead up to some very funny dialogue, to some very strange and funny situations. Of course, not too funny because we still want to keep the atmosphere and the tone serious enough. But that, of course, doesn't mean that there can't be any jokes here and there. So apart from Shazam and Black Adam being in this movie, I also thought it would be a nice thing to actually focus maybe a little bit more on the characters of Suicide Squad, because the film is called The Suicide Squad 2. It's not called Shazam 2 or Black Adam. It's called The Suicide Squad 2. And of course they're the main focus, and I thought it would be nice to also have a large amount of focus to the actual character development of these people, because we all know who they are. We've seen them several times. A lot of the characters from Suicide Squad we saw in their introduction films, and we also saw them in the first Suicide Squad film where they all teamed up for the first time. But in that first Suicide Squad film, although it was a good movie and although they worked together really well, I thought kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 treated its characters, kind of like delving a little bit deeper into their inner relationships, kind of like, expanding on that to show how they get closer to each other, maybe creating this strange, weird family dynamic of everyone, of all these weird and strange and disturbed individuals, but do kind of like growing towards each other, like this bond that's getting stronger and stronger. I think it would be a nice change of pace, instead of always having these weird, crazy people being weird and crazy, to actually show that they have some parts in them that are still human, that they all have these shreds of humanity still inside them, and to also kind of focus on that. Of course, Suicide Squad teams up with Shazam against Black Adam. Black Adam is defeated in the end, and the film, although a happy ending, still ends with this build-up for Darkseid. Of course, Darkseid is a thing. He's gonna, throughout the entirety of Phase 3, he's built up, he's teased, he's mentioned here and there, with the Aquaman film maybe, also the film Cyborg and the Flash, Deathstroke of course, and of course the first film Apocalypse, which is completely about Darkseid. You really get this feeling that this is going to be our main villain. This isn't Lex Luthor, this isn't a Steppenwolf, this isn't a Joker, this is the Thanos of the DCEU. This is the main villain, the big, you know, the big guy, to say. So Suicide Squad 2 ends with this big build-up, leading us to the final film of Phase 3, which, just like we have a second Suicide Squad film, Phase 3 ends with a second Justice League film, namely Justice League Rebirth. Justice League Rebirth has a villain which is actually one of the henchmen of Darkseid that I looked up, namely Mantis. Mantis is basically this humanoid insect figure that also leads an army of humanoid insects to Earth. Let's say Mantis is, just like with Steppenwolf, Mantis is sent by Darkseid to Earth to deal with the Justice League, because Darkseid is sensing the Justice League being an actual threat. Who knows that it's actually being a threat, and he sends Mantis and his army of humanoid insects to deal with them. We have our original team, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, The Flash, Aquaman, and Catwoman as well, because Catwoman has made tons of appearances in the last film, so I thought, you know, it would be nice if she also makes an appearance in this Justice League film, because in the first Justice League film at the end of Phase 2, she actually doesn't make an appearance, so she's here as well, fighting alongside them, and that's pretty much the plot of this film. The threat of Darkseid is fully confirmed, you know, because Mantis is directly sent by Darkseid. Batman and Cyborg and Wonder Woman, they all figure this out. They know, okay, there's a big guy pulling the strings up there and he's coming for us sooner or later, and we have to be ready. And there's only one way to get ready, and that's probably the inevitable thing that was going to happen. Finally, resurrect Superman. Let's say Mantis and his army of humanoid insects, they're this huge threat. Let's say the Justice League and Mantis have this first battle somewhere, but they lose actually. They lose, and they are forced to fall back to their safe house, to like the Batcave. And they're like, alright, guys, this Mantis is the strongest villain we've encountered so far, and he's not even the worst guy out there. Darkseid is also there. And if it's just us, we're never gonna be able to beat them. And at that moment in the Batcave, let's say they come up with this plan. Is it possible to bring Superman back from the dead? And it can be like this big conflict, like, alright, but what's gonna happen? Is he going to be alright? What if they bring Superman back from the dead and he's going to be all completely twisted in his mind? What's gonna happen? Nevertheless, they try it, using one of the mother boxes again, kind of keeping the whole mother box concept into the fold, because they will also keep coming back into the future. They get Superman's body, they head into the crashed ship of Zod, back from Man of Steel, and they manage to bring back Superman from the dead. And it can be this weird moment, but they're not gonna fight. They're not going to have a fight, although it would be cool, because it's not right. I think it would be too much, because it would kind of derail from the main focus of this film, because the main focus of this Justice League film is Mantis, and not Superman. Superman comes back from the dead, but he's going to be like completely messed up in his head. He's like, what's going on? What is happening? But then he finds Lois, he finds his mom. Kind of a very heartfelt reunion, a very emotional moment where he actually remembers everything. He remembers himself dying, he remembers what happened, and he just doesn't know what's going on. But Lois and his mother are just so happy that he's alive, and they kind of encourage him, like, come on, they brought you back alive, they must have brought you back for a reason, and you just have to do this. You have to join them. You have to join them in this fight. And Superman, Clark, he might be a little bit confused. He might be a little bit unsure, but eventually he finds the strength inside of him again. Of course, leading up to himself becoming the black-suited Superman, really linking with the title of this movie, Justice League Rebirth, because that's what the black suit stands for. It stands for the rebirth of Superman. So he puts on his black suit, he joins Justice League into this final fight with Mantis. They defeat Mantis, of course. Big epic fights, big epic moments. Superman is back, and now we almost have our full Justice League back together again. Superman back after being dead for a very long time, because he's been dead since the end of Phase 1, and now he's back again at the end of Phase 3. Very cool moment, very awesome thing. But of course, the threat of Darkseid is real. It's coming. They all know it's coming. And they know, alright guys, we've won this fight, but the biggest one is still coming. So it ends on a good note, but also on this cliffhanger that they all know that there's someone very big out there pulling the strings, and they're gonna have to be ready for them sooner or later. And it ends with this big epic cliffhanger at the end, with Darkseid hearing of Mantis's defeat after Steppenwolf, and he's like, alright, I gotta do this myself, let's begin. And then just boom, end credits. Alright guys, that was Phase 3, Reign of Justice. Slightly different, again with several origin stories. We have Green Lantern coming into the fold, Deathstroke, Shazam and Black Adam were introduced. All of the characters, they're all here. We had another Suicide Squad film, we had another Justice League film, Superman is back. Almost everyone is gathered up, almost everyone has teamed up. Now they're all ready for Phase 4 that will be coming very soon, the final phase of my very own DCEU. I hope you enjoyed once again. I hope you're excited to hear of the last phase, Phase 4, because that is going to be some real shit, if I may be so honest myself. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you guys later.